go.
Happy Permaculture Action Day.
Bruce Bauman with We Are Change Colorado here, and it's a lovely pleasure to be with Ayla Nereo. What an inspiration, and we got a lot of drums, so maybe we could just walk through the garden and talk a little bit. And we're at the Polish Ambassador Permaculture Action Day. We're changing over this garden to have a, it's going to be rebirth. They're going to build condos here, so we're going to pick up all this amazing soil, and we're going to move it to the next garden. We're uplifting a couple fruit trees.
3 up. Oh, got it.
We're building some tiny homes.
Here we're building a Conestoga hut for our friend Violet. We're with a group called Denver Homeless Out Loud, and this is Resurrection Village.
It's going to be an amazing opportunity. We got some music going on in the background. Ayla, you had an amazing workshop at Arise. It's called, it was putting truth into music is pretty much what I remember. What inspires you to put truth into music and inspire humanity and uplift humanity?
Whoa, that's a good question and a big one. I guess the thing that inspires me is that I just love being human. I think it's a miracle. I think it's such an amazing thing to be a human being and to have a mind and to have hands that can work and to have hearts that can feel so much. And it's so, to be able to make music that sounds so amazing and to be able to dance to it, and there's so much that is still that we're still able to tap into that we haven't because of the conditioning that's been put on, through just the power systems and the media and all of that, just for ages and ages and ages. We've even forgotten that it could be a different way. It's so deep, this conditioning, and I think we're starting to remember how amazing it is to be alive and how amazing it feels to connect to each other, and what kind of, learning what kind of things need to happen to break down these walls that have really been made pretty strongly with our world, and barriers of gender and race and class and all of these things. Just trying to understand how to be the most amazing species that we're capable of.
So yeah, you're talking about the separation, and everybody, what we can do, if there's any solution to all of this, is unite, is get beyond what divides us and find what we can unite on, find where we're common ground between our brothers and our sisters, and being able to unite, whether it be race or whatever, creed, religion, sexuality, anything, political view. Let's unite on where we can find. Let's keep wandering back here, because it's pretty loud here, and there's a lot to look at. There's an amazing garden here, tons of different types of veggies, tons of different people uplifting these beds and moving them, and just a lot going on. So I figured we just kind of show the viewers our YouTube channels. We Are Change Colorado. We focus a lot on being the change we want to see, and so this is really what it is, being the change we want to see. It's a revolutionary act to be a gardener, and I'm in my bee costume right now, because this bee costume has a special place in my heart from when I was arrested at the Monsanto fundraiser where they stopped GMO labeling, and we wanted to label GMOs because we deserve the right to know what's in our food. Yeah. And so what's one of your issues? It doesn't have to be GMOs. What's one of your issues that really speaks to your heart, that really inspires you to be an activist or an inspiration for others to do that in their lives?
Yeah. One of the biggest issues that's close to my heart is children and children's rights, which I think is not, I don't even know if I've ever phrased it that way, as children's rights, but for me it's education and the right of every child to have a joyful and inspiring learning experience. And I feel like it's actually an injustice that we put kids in these really sterile living environments and give them these books to read and these things that don't even attend to what learning style, and we don't give them nature, we don't give them the things that actually we know make us feel full humanness, and the fact that so many, that there's just not, that's not a standard that's available to everyone, regardless of what area you live in or what economic background, like that level of education of having children interact with our planet and with each other and learning the skills of being an actual real human on this planet, I think is a basic human right that every child deserves. And so I often feel that what I do in this world with my music and my voice is to give voice to those who don't speak the adult human language. So it's the children, it's the animals, it's the nature, the trees, the plants, and the elements.
That's beautiful, yeah. And if you don't already know, which I'm sure you do, but when you can like teach a child something, you're changing the world, because that child takes that and then they never forget that moment. And so we need to really take that into our hearts and know that we can be the change by teaching the youth about going through and weeding the garden and harvesting and planting and just knowing that that's where the real value comes from, is holding your own garden in your backyard and having that nutrition come from your blood, sweat, and tears of weeding and watering and whatnot. It tastes better. It feels better. I know you talked about that a little bit at Arise as well. What's some of your other festivals like Arise? Because we're from Colorado and we love Arise, and it happens every first weekend or second weekend of August, and it'll be happening again in 2016. We're looking forward to that. But what's some of your other festivals to let people know about that really have that same vibration out there that that you've gone over to?
I feel like there's a lot of festivals that are kind of moving in the direction of activism and action base. A lot of festivals this year have been doing action days, even some that didn't have us come play or David come play. So it's really that's been really exciting to see the incorporation of action coming in. Envision has been pretty big with trying to incorporate that into their model. That's in Costa Rica. And there's also the level of intentionality. There's a beautiful festival called Beloved, and I think that's in Portland, and that's really trying to hold a beautiful container for connection. I was really impressed with Arise, with the level of activism that was present there. So I feel like there's a lot of festivals that are starting to do that, and there's a lot of room for growth still.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, Colorado's kind of like a platform, or, people look to us here in Colorado as like, what's Colorado doing? Everybody's got their eyes on Denver because of the cannabis legalization, or actually I call it recrealization or whatever I'm trying to say, but it's pretty much, it's not legal because it's legal to grow as much veggies as you want, but you can't just grow an unlimited amount of cannabis. So it's not necessarily legal. So I like to point that out to people. But there's been, decades of effort to get that to happen to where we don't get thrown in jail for having a little plant in our pocket. And so I think that's something that really has inspired everyone else around the country to look at Colorado. And so now we have this chance to continue uplifting the nation and the world through the action that we're doing here on the ground in Colorado. And so it's really great to be able to share this interview with you and get to do this. Tell us about, the music. I know Wildlight, you guys headlined the Saturday stage at Arise, which is awesome. But just tell us, what are you working on? I know you got something up your sleeve.
Well, we just released the new Wildlight album, The Tide, so that's been really exciting. We have some release shows. Thanks. So we got some release shows coming. We're probably going to come to Colorado with Wildlight pretty soon here. Yeah, we're working on solo albums now. Now that Wildlight has done that album, I'm working on 2 new solo albums. One is just me with looping, and one is with my band. And David's working on a whole album, collaborating with people. And yeah, just.
Any idea when we can see those albums? Is it gonna be another year? Or?
Not a whole year, less than a year, definitely. Probably less than 6 months. Yeah,
awesome.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, Ayla really rocked it at Arise, and it really spoke to me. I was like, I have to interview her. She had a set that brought me to tears at the yoga tent. It's just powerful. Your in-betweens. I always talk about that with artists, or I describe artists, that's how you know when you're really dealing with a really awesome artist, is how do they handle their in-betweens. And your in-betweens at Arise were wonderful. And so I just want to give you thanks for that, because that really spoke to me just about protecting our Mother Earth and really not turning our backs on the land that we were all birthed from. And that's really important. This is all indigenous land that was colonized, all for profit. And so we got to remember that. Just take a second to really think about that, and how can we honor this land rather than just what can we get from the land. How do we give back? Because one thing I wrote in a poem once is like, not only take the medicine, but to give back. You know what I mean? To not only go on vacation to these amazing places to look at this beauty, but to sit in gratitude for a second and give back your love to that land. I think it's a really important step for all of us. So I thank you. Anything else you'd like to just shout out to the We Are Change listeners, viewers, and just the world in general?
Gosh. Well, I don't know. That was pretty beautiful what you just said. I mean, this is our mother, and just to remember that with every step, like how do we? This whole world is a reflection. I mean, I think of everything in this fractal way. So it's like these bodies are also the earth. And so how are we creating our world with our words and our thoughts, and how are we treating our earth, and how are we treating our earth, and how are we treating our earth, you know? Mm-hmm. And just really like taking more care, and I think not getting so spun out here and instead coming back.
Absolutely. So the more I realize is that we don't need all these different rule books. The law book for 2015 is like this big, and really the only rule that we really need is to treat each other the way we want to be treated. That's the golden rule, and to me that's all we really need to learn and teach our children to follow the rules. Well, that if you wanted to break it down real easy, you know, we don't need all these codes and fractions, all these. It's all about business, and so it's all about making money, and it's not going to the people. And so we got to take the power back into the hands of the people for Mother Earth, rather than just giving up our power. Because that's the thing, is like we are all powerful, and we all can be powerful, but we're only powerful if we realize that and we maintain our power and we don't let it go and give it away.
And these things, like what I'm really learning right now is these things are understandable, but the practice is a whole different thing. It's so hard for me. It's so hard to practice treating every earth body with respect and love, and treating everyone as I would want to be treated. It's actually really hard, and it's so easy to slip up. And I think a really big piece of it is forgiving ourselves and forgiving each other constantly, because that's also part of.
Yeah, because we're our you know, our biggest critics. Sometimes we can hold each other down with our mind tyrant. I talk about it sometimes. So we got to free ourselves from being, you know, holding each other back with our mind tyrants and judging others, and just being and just allowing ourselves to step into our full power. And so I thank you for doing that, because I see you. I see Ayla, and she's going to be playing at a show in Boulder tonight. It's a sold-out show. And then tomorrow you're doing a workshop to, you know, bring people's voices out. That was another part of Arise that was really powerful. So I mean, I just really thank you for what you're doing. Give you a big old hug. The B, Bruce B, and Ayla Nereo. We Are Change Colorado, WACC TV on YouTube. Make sure to subscribe, and make sure to check out the new music that'll be coming your way soon. The Wildlight album's already out, but the new music is All Name Your Price. That is the revolution right there. And it's actually not a revolution. We're going evolution, because we're changing it up. We're not revolving back. We're going to uplift and go to a place that we've never been before. Much love, everybody. Thanks a lot. Build your own gardens this spring.
Get your hands dirty!